Am I live? Is it happening? Okay, let me crank up the mic since I'll be farther away. Okay, it looks like it's working this time. Alright. Hi. Merry Christmas if you're somebody who celebrates that. I believe it's Hanukkah for those of you who celebrate that. Happy Hanukkah. I tried to do this yesterday when I got home from work. I was having some technical difficulties, and my IT man was not here, and I was having a hard time figuring things out, and I just kind of shut down and said, to heck with it, it's not happening tonight. But we got it figured out okay today. Turns out I was doing quite a few things wrong. I don't know why they have to make it so hard. Hold on, I'm trying to retie my hair. Alright. Some of you may be wondering about the color of my canvas. It may be a bit hard to read on camera. I adjusted the lighting the best I could to show more accurately what I am seeing. So you are not seeing things. It is a gray-orange wash. So I was applying undercolor to canvases the other night, so that way I wasn't starting with a blank white canvas. I started with a nice aqua green, which if you're one of my followers from elsewhere, you know that in the little world that I've created for this graphic novel that I'm working on, aqua greenish, bluish turquoise type is the color that I have designated for the sky and water. So I started with that. I applied a wash to 2 canvases, and then I switched to yellow ochre for another canvas without rinsing my brush. Actually, let me go get that. So this was switching from aqua to yellow ochre without rinsing my brush out, just because I wanted to see what would happen. I like it a lot. I like all the striations. I like the golden green color, and it's giving me quite a few ideas on what kind of a scene I can create with this. I might just split it down the middle and do 2 different scenes, so that way it's less regret. But I like it a lot. I like the way this looks. So then after that, I rinsed my brush off, and then I did a canvas with just yellow ochre, and then I rinsed my brush out, and I did an orange canvas, and then without rinsing my brush, I did gray with this one. So I squirted gray onto the canvas, and I went in with the orange contaminated brush, and I just went wild, and I love the way it turned out, and it's perfect for the type of forest scene that I have been wanting to paint. So I'm going to be doing that today. I wasn't initially planning on this, but I did decide that I will go ahead and have this be my second test of the Stuart Semple Labs Pure. It's still not listed on their website. So hopefully me doing a couple more paintings with it and giving them more feedback will help them finalize it better, because I'm very, very excited to start buying this regularly, and I would love to buy a set for my younger sibling because they are also into painting, and I know once they use it they're going to absolutely love it. So something I'm gonna do, let me come over here and grab a colored pencil. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. And oh good, this is exactly the type of song I was thinking about painting to today. I'm glad it was on this playlist that I found. Okay, actually, these are much more even in size and will take a lot less work to trim down. So I'm going to do this to help me keep a focal point and some perspective. Let's say there is good. Alright, kind of hard to see on camera, but that's great because that means it'll cover up in painting easily. But I've got this little rectangle here, and then I am just, here we go, this will work. These three look great, but this one looks a little awkward. So I think I'm going to have this go outward more rather than towards the corner. maybe an angle like this. Whoop, didn't mean to bump the camera. Yeah, that looks much better. Okay. Alright, and I have this little clay palette that I made using the paw print of my deceased Elvira. So these are two different paw prints. So here is a paw print, and then here is a paw print. And I meant to just stick the toes in. That's why this isn't very deep. I was just trying to create, 4 more wells because there was too much surface area for there to be only this. So I was trying to create just 4 more wells here. But the pad did create another indentation, which lined up perfectly with the last toe on the previous paw print. So it worked out in creating 2 whole paw prints. And as you saw in the title, or description rather, I am going to be working with a limited color palette for the first time ever. I got this tiny silicone spatula. Look at it, it's so cute. Look, it is smaller than this canvas. I think this is an 8 by 8 inch canvas. It's so little, look at it. I got it because I got these for keeping paint color blends in, and this is to stir them if I were to just make one in jar. Ta-da! But let's be real, it doesn't take much for me to want to buy a bunch of cute little jars with corks. But if anyone here remembers my last time working with the Stuart Semple Pure Paints back in, September. Oh my god, has it really been that long? Back in September, I was having a difficult time because I am not used to paint that is this quality. And I would go to mix a color and it wouldn't be quite what I wanted, so I would add more of another color and mix until I got it. But then I would end up needing so little of that mixture that a lot of the paint had to get used throughout the background in order to avoid wasting it. So my solution to that was to get these little jars, and then I'm just going to mix a blend, and then anything that is extra I'm going to scoop it in the jar and it's good to go. I also got these because I am neurotic as hell. So the purpose of these is so that way I can scoop a specific amount of each color, and then I can write down the measurements and literally exactly how much I used of each color in order to get a specific color blend. I have these little white labels. I was gonna say I haven't been able to find a roll, but I know there's somewhere, and I look up and there's one, naturally in a place that I never looked in. So they're kind of big, but I'll be cutting them down to size and placing them on the jars. with how much of each color written down was used in order to create the color. So what I am going to do today, I am just going to scoop a small amount of my initial chosen color palette into these wells created by Elvira's Toes. And then I'll just go from there. Let's see. I don't know how much of the sky is going to be visible, if any at all, with the scene that I'm imagining, but it might be a good idea to still have some sky regardless, just in case. It's going to be a densely packed cluster of trees, essentially. But it doesn't hurt, so I will use both blue and green, so that way I can create my aqua color. And then orange, black and white for tint and shadow. And then let's go pink and yellow. Okay. Ooh, gotta stir this up. Yes, that is something we learned the last time, is these paints cannot be shaken because they'll get really frothy. You gotta stir them. Okay, let me just set this here. Rinse this guy off. I want to have both the blue and the green stirred up before I go to mix them for the aqua. Just because these are still acrylics, so they do still dry quickly. And it's still a little separated looking. water is blue. Okay. Alright, so I've got this mixing chart here. Let me just... I will start with just 1/8 of a teaspoon of each color. I might have to add some white to lighten it up because these colors are, well, here, let me show you the cap. That's pretty dark and rich compared to what I have in mind. So, alright, that's a pretty level 1/8 of a teaspoon. Gonna plop that right onto this nice little mixing board. Rinse that off in the water. Right, and it's cool that these are double-sided because I can just use the other end. There we go. And dump. Yeah, that is way more paint than I need for the sky, so some is definitely going to go into a jar. And as predicted, that is a bit dark. I wish I had a smaller size than 1/8 of a teaspoon, but honestly, I think it would be okay to add a full 1/8 of a teaspoon of the white. About to stir up some shit. I forgot how thick and almost paste-like the white is. I did remember that that was like my biggest complaint about these last time, was a lack of consistency in the consistencies going from color to color. I forgot paper towel. I'll be right back. Okay. quick sip of my energy drink here. Alright. Where did I put that white? There it is. If the 1/8 of a teaspoon of the white is too much, I'm just going to add another 1/8 of a teaspoon of the green, because this is a little too much on the blue side too. What's up?
Seeing how the stream's going.
Good, I'm still mixing my first color. So the white wasn't technically too much. I would be happy with this tint, but it is still too on the blue side for what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and add that extra 1/8 of a teaspoon of the green anyway. I'm not hooked up to your computer. Your mic's not going to make a difference. Bye, I guess.
Huh?
Bye, I guess. And this, boys and germs, is exactly why I got those little jars. So that way when I make too much of a color, because I have to keep adding more in order to get the color that I'm looking for, I can just scrape it all into a jar and not have to worry about it getting wasted. That is much closer to what I typically think of for the sky in a party Nora. So I'm just gonna call it good and scrape it into a jar before it starts to dry out. For that I'm going to just move off over here where there's a little more space. Hi Kyra. And I'm not gonna write that out now, because if I can't remember how much I used, I can just go back and review the stream. I had to leave to get a slightly bigger version of the spatula to make scraping this paint up here easier. They came in a 4-pack in different sizes, and they would be good for getting stuff out of like glass bottles and jars. So I just kept the smallest version for the paints, and I put the rest in the kitchen. Okay, I know I don't do a whole lot of palette knifing, but I should probably get a better set than the dollar store set that I have, because they're not that great at scraping paints together. I do wish that these silicone spatulas had like a sharper edge, because it's not scraping off of this plastic palette very well. So unfortunately there is still going to be quite a bit going to waste. So I'm going to have to figure that out. Yeah, I know, it doesn't look like a lot in here. That's because I couldn't get it all off of the little plastic palette. So I might just start mixing in the jars then, because it doesn't like to wipe off the palette either. Okay. So I think I'm going to start with just dipping a small amount of white into this little side well created in her paw pad. I just sewed this brand new apron and I already have paint all over it, which is kind of the point. And then I'm going to pour a little bit of green right there. A little bit of blue there. that's quite a lot of blue. The blue is very fluid. And the rest of these need to be stirred. I'm just going to use toothpicks to stir the rest of the colors, so that way I don't have to keep constantly rinsing and wiping that little spatula. And the orange is going to go right there, because that's what I'm going to use to tone the palette together. Okay, pour the pink. There, whoops, that's a lot. And then I'll actually just focus the camera on my palette for a moment, because it's going to be too hard to, oh gosh. There it is. Too hard to tip up to show you guys later, because this paint is pretty fluid. So here I've got the blue, the green, the pink, the yellow is going to go there. Ooh, that yellow is very separated. Alright, there we go. And then the black is going to go in this little dip, so that way I can use this little dip for mixing gray. Well, this black looks pretty great itself here. I'm gonna have to actually wipe off this little spatula. Alright, let me get in there with this so that way I can scrape the sides. So the black has separated quite a bit in the last few months. And there's like this grayish layer over the top that I'm having a hard time getting rid of. So I scrape the top edges here. It's kind of helping though. There we go. It's back to looking black again. So I'm gonna drip that there. And then I'm also gonna drip some right there, specifically for toning with the orange. And then I'm gonna go back and add another pull of white too. I'm gonna pour some aqua out. The aqua does not want to pour out. It has decided to become one with the jar. Give me a minute so I can coax it. Or I could just paint directly from the jar. That would work too, actually. Oh yes, now I remember. Alright, I am going to take a little scoop of this white and move it right here for toning with the orange. And my paint water is already very, very painty. So I'm going to go change that real quick. Be right back. Okay. I thought I was going to like the oval side of the double-headed measuring spoons. But that was very, very hard to try to wash out, at least with the tiny, tiny 1/8 size. So I am definitely going to be mostly using the, I can't think, mostly using the circle side from now on. Alright, and now we can focus back, whoops, to the canvas. Here is the aqua, so I'm just gonna go in real quick and do a light wash of the sky. Whoa, no, no, no. Horizons are lower than they appear. Okay, sticking the cork back in. I'm just gonna take a paper towel and just kind of dip that in a little bit of water, squeeze gently, and come in here real quick. Because I'm not even certain sky will be visible at all, and I definitely don't want the sky to be that far down. There we go. That'll be good. Alright, and now, ooh. Okay, there it is. Focus back on the palette. And the messy desk, don't mind that. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of orange. Come on. For those of you who have never really seen me paint or talk about my graphic novel before, it's the foliage is orange. So this is why I am going with an orange toned painting. Mix this. That is a very interesting color. I definitely did not expect that. I'm gonna wipe this off quick on the handy dandy apron. Mix. This is also interesting. Personally, I have no idea why I decided to have green as part of this palette. I think I was hoping it would create a more brown look being mixed with the orange. That works. I like that. I can work with that. Now, I already knew what happens when you mix pink and orange. I'm a very big fan of this mix, and this particular shade of orange is what I have designated for the grass of this world. It's an interesting color. I think I'm gonna add a little bit of this to it. Oh boy, I should not have done that, but you know what? Let's roll with it. Now guys, is the white tinting the black or is the black shading the white? Alright, let's do this. You know what, actually. That's roughly the color of the tree trunks in this world. Alright. Okay. I'm going to start with this pretty cool brush that I'm using for the first time. Dip it in the water. La-di-da. Okay. I'm going to go in with this weird yellowish orangish gray that I created. I'm going in here. Kind of sticky. This tree does suck, but it's just a in the distance tree, so it doesn't matter that much. In retrospect, I probably should have started with a small brush. But a lot of the painting tips I was reading the last few days, in my defense, said, start big and then go small. It probably doesn't apply to cases like this, though. I'm going to take this brush now and just dab the end in this blackish toned orange brown type deal I created. Oops, I got it in the yellow too. I'm just gonna dab it there. Now, this method that I'm about to use is primarily for fun forests, but I believe that if done right, it can be adapted to like just typical you're looking in a forest and you can see stuff going into the distance. So I'm going to take a little bit of white on this other clay palette I made. I'm just gonna go in here because that'll help keep me to a small amount. And I'm going to add some orange to keep these orange image to, ooh, that's a lot of orange. I forgot how liquidy the orange is. And I'm going to add some water to set it down a bit. Mix that up. It's mixing very nicely. Alright, now the people that usually see do this use a rag. I don't have a painting rag quite yet, and I don't want to ruin one of our nice washcloths. So I'm going to use paper towel and see how well that works. So. Oh my goodness. Okay, there's a lot going on here. I'm gonna roll with it. So for one, this created a much brighter and more yellowy color than I had intended. Oh yeah, they were doing circular strokes. Wow. Boy, did I fuck up. Okay. Well, that's okay, because it makes it look like a brighter day. I didn't want it to be completely shady. And it allows me to redo those back trees. We got this. And I think I will go for a whitewash for the future layers. So I'm just gonna prep that now. I'm just gonna add some white to this larger portion so I have room to mix it. And then get some water mixed into that because this needs to dry anyway. Alright, there we go. I have this very thin, watery white blend right here for me to dip in. Okay, good enough. Okay, so then I am going to take a smaller brush this time. Let's go with this one. And I'm going to dip it into this now very greenish water. And I'm just gonna, you know what, I'm gonna continue with this color. And into the water. And then I'm gonna go with this brush. I'm gonna carefully dip it into just the orange. Success. I'm gonna hold it squeezed like this and just kinda dab. Just squeeze this guy together again, dip it in the orange, more dabbing. Dab. I guess that's only funny if you could see me do it on camera, but that's not gonna happen. Alright. Still a little wet, so let's wait a minute here. I am going to go dump out and change my paint water because it's pretty interesting color now. I just realized that this looks much harsher on the camera than it does in person. There, that's probably about as accurate as it's gonna get. I mean, it's not the worst thing how often it has to get changed because it allows the paint to dry in different layers because some layers have to cover the entire canvas. You should jump on and watch me. So there's a very specific brush that I'm thinking I would like to use for the next layers where it's like a wash of white. It does not seem to be in my brush bucket. I wonder if it is. Here it is in my pencil cup. A bunch of my paint brushes got jammed into my pencil cup for some reason. So I'm using this. It is technically a makeup brush. So is this. But I've heard that they're great for painting. So what I'm going to do... Oh wow, that turned out great. I love how that looks. It blended itself, kind of. So the previous layer must not have been fully dry. I love the way that looks. You know what? I think I'm going to do the next layer without doing a whitewash. Whitewash. Okay. Yeah, wow. That is really, really cool. Okay, so let's see. What brush do I want to use now? I think I'll go with with a smaller brush again, just because I am having a hard time getting a hang of these like lines for the trunks. I think I'm gonna try this guy from this fine liner set that I got. Dip it in the nice, clean, clear water, and then for some reason I'm gonna go with this greenish brown color. I think it'd create an interesting look under the whitewash. And I'm going to go here. And this is a new tree shape that I've been wanting to experiment with, because a forest is more than one type of tree. Oh god, I can't stop my hand from shaking. I know y'all know what I'm going for. This is like every kid's first climbing tree, because it's just so heckin' easy. I can kind of climb trees. I was kind of one of those girls, but I am very much afraid of falling. So, like, it's not something I did often, and I never got very high up. Like, I hate being on ladders, and it's not the height, because I love roller coasters, I love airplanes, you know, even like going up the many stories of stairs to get to an elevator, or not many stories of stairs to get to an elevator, roller coaster doesn't bother me, and like looking over the railing down below doesn't bother me that much, even with my brain going, hey, you should jump. It's like, I know I'm safe and secure, so like, I'm not scared. It's when what I am on is unsteady or unstable or very precarious, like a very thin precipice type deal. That's when it gets me. So that's why I can't do ladders, because the slightest movement and everything can go wrong type thing. If I am on a ladder and it so much as shifts, I am stuck on it, shaking and crying like a chihuahua. This has happened at work numerous times, which is fantastic. But like half the people that I work with are afraid of heights, so thankfully it's not that embarrassing. And then there's the owner and his family, and they're just like little monkeys, and they will just climb up the wildest shit. And I remember there was this time during homecoming season, the only daughter was helping out, and stuff had to get rearranged on some pretty. I love how this tree is turning out so far. Stuff had to get rearranged on some pretty tall shelves. You had to use the 8-foot ladder in order to be able to access these shelves. And the manager was insisting on going, but she's terrified of heights. So she was like stopping every couple of steps. She kept, like clutching the ladder nervously. She was, very, very much did not want to be doing it. And the owner's daughter was just like, just let me do it. And my manager was like, no, because you're the future of the company, and if something happens to you, your dad's gonna kill me. And it's like, honestly, let her do it though, because that family has no fear when it comes to climbing stuff, and they're perfectly okay. Like, I have seen the dad and all three sons. Too thick of a stroke. I have seen the dad and all three sons climb some pretty wild stuff. Like, they'll just straight up climb the shelves all the way to the top, which, to be fair, these are incredibly sturdy shelves built into the wall that can hold so much weight. And I have climbed them in a pinch if I needed to. Like, if I needed something on the top that I couldn't reach easily and I didn't feel like going to get the ladder. Honestly, I prefer climbing the shelves over the ladder because I trust the shelves that much more than the ladder. And the only thing is, though, like the braces that hold the shelves up, it's like this metal thing, and it's curved around, and then the back side is completely open, so it's like it's metal bent into a U. So when you're grabbing it to help support yourself, it hurts. So usually I'll deal with the ladder. But sometimes the ladder is in the other room of the back room, and I don't feel like dealing with it, so I will just climb the shelf. And then my hands will hurt all day, but I'm like, you know what, it's worth it because I didn't have to deal with the ladder. I just kind of ruined what that guy had going on, but it looked so wet and pliable still. And I wanted to add more fruit. There we go. That's better. Which things have been going very well at the dress shop. This is going to be my last week with 3 days off. I am going back up to full time starting next week. Well, technically not. The 5th day that she gave me is only 6 hours. And at first I was kind of like, okay, what the heck? And then I was thinking about it. It's like, honestly, I have been part-time for 2 months now, so it would probably be nice to ease back into it. other than that, I really like what this tree has going on. I'm gonna let it dry it a bit more before I mess with the foliage. Maybe I should bring my blow dryer in here. There is somewhere I can plug it in. Okay, I'm gonna go get it. It doesn't want to plug into the extension cord. Ugh, okay, I got it. I'm not going to worry about this because I'm just going to be working up here. Perfect. Alright, so then I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to use it dry. I know. And I'm going to dab it in this weird dark blue-black color that I made when I mixed it with the orange to tone it. I'm going to use it for like shadowy foliage. So I'm just going to do a little dip, dip. And then gently dab. Hold it steady. Dab, 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 dab. Dip, dip. Dab, 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 dab. I'm gonna use a little like down here and back here too. Into the paint bucket you go. Or not the paint bucket, the water bucket. Same difference. probably should use that for shadowy foliage color the first time around. And as you can see, my attempt at the sky is hardly visible, so I didn't even need to bother, but better safe than sorry. I just got an idea. I'll be right back. There. This cup was for a pegboard that I no longer have, and it didn't even fit in the pegboard. In fact, one of the little pegs broke off when I was trying to get it in and out. It's not what I was looking for, but I found this instead and it'll work, because this was keeping me from getting to the top edge easily, so now I don't have that problem. And because I can't really use this for anything, and I don't know why I even still have it, I don't care if it gets warped and disfigured. Alright, so I'm going to take another quick sip of my energy drink and my water. And then I'm going to take this brush, which is still a little wet from being washed off. And I'm going to dip it in this pink and orange mixture. And then I'm out of orange, so I'm gonna pour some more. going to use this fan makeup brush. And just kind of it doesn't need to be too detailed because this is just another background tree anyway. Now I'm going to dry it again. Perfect. All right. Now I'm going to take this brush, as discussed, and since this mixture is so wet already, I'm just gonna dry brush it. I'm just gonna roll it around in this wet water and white mixture, and then just wipe away that excess. Good thing I did that. All right, and I'm just gonna. Wow, that is still really thick. I should have added a lot more water. And I already added a lot of water too. I guess I just had too much white paint. Geez. This is not what was supposed to happen. Alright, well, thankfully it didn't render that tree I worked so hard on completely invisible. You can still kind of see it. Gosh, when I was watching those videos, everybody just said they used a mixture of white and water, but they didn't say how much. Maybe it really does matter if you use a cloth versus a brush. So maybe next time I will just try a paper towel again. For now, my paint bucket is getting pretty murky again, so I'm going to go run and change that real quick and wash out these brushes that are sitting in it. let me take another look at these mediums that came with the Pure Kit. Body, Flow, and Gloss. I don't think the flow is going to help me because I don't think it's going to thin it out. So I'm going to start with adding more water in here. I used almost that entire mixture too, so that's probably a large part of why it turned out the way it did. But the fluid is almost like a pouring medium essentially. And pouring mediums don't typically thin the color out. They usually keep the integrity of the color and just make it thinner so that way it's easier to pour. So that's the impression I have with the fluid medium included by Stuart Semple Labs in the Pure Kit. Just gonna mix that up and add a tiny touch of that orange and white and water mixture I had made previously, just in case I haven't learned my lesson yet. I do like this color that it made though. Okay. Man, you can barely see that tree. I liked that size 6 brush that I used though, so here's the size 7. Gonna dip it in this green color again like I did last time. And again, it's amazing how far I can get with these Stuart Semple Labs paints with just a small dip of the brush. I did not mean to make the trunk like the last one. I was trying to go the opposite with droopy branches. Then go like this. Now for this one, I need some white and gray because I know what kind of tree this is. And this has little berries. Oh, these berries. Well, this variety of the tree anyway. There are a few varieties of this tree. This one has pink leaves with white berries. And this tree, in its lore, is known for being popular with lovers. So when they are blossoming, the popular gift between lovers is a clump of blossoms from this tree. this isn't a foreground tree either. I was just trying to blend that highlight in. That is one downside to acrylics, is that even on a palette, they dry fairly quickly. So I don't think pouring all the colors I want to use out onto a palette at once is something I'm going to be doing again. But you live and you learn. Still a bit wet. In fact, what I think I might want to do is just something that I initially planned on when I got all these little jars, is just color mix directly into the jar, and then when I need a color, I just pull the cork out and dip the brush directly in it, and then I don't really have to worry about it drying out and going to waste. So that's probably a project I'm going to start working on over the next couple of weeks, because I don't like these expensive paints going to waste. Actually, before I take another attempt at this wash in between layers, I think I'm gonna add something so it looks like there's stuff here, here, here. I am going to take this brush, which has been washed, so it's very wet. I think I'm going to dip it into this orange, and then into this gray and black, swirl it around, get something dark and shadowy. Maybe I want to dip it in this bluish color instead, and just dab. There is no path because this is going to be Farron looking down the forest to either side of the path and realizing just how dense it really is. Because George's going to tell her to never stray from the path, so that way she never gets lost. And then she looks and she's like, wow, that's a lot of forest. And I do want that to only be partly dry right now, because I do want to blend some orange into it. I just don't want it to blend too easily. The nice thing about these paints, though, is that if they are not completely dry and I add a bit of water, that kind of revives them, which isn't normally a thing with acrylics. So I'm adding a touch of water to that pinkish orange color, and I'm going to revive it real quick, because the next thing I'm going to do is some grass in the distance here. This is the first time I've actually gotten this fan-shaped brush to work out decently. Usually once the bristles get wet and clumped together, it's a problem, and I can never get it to do what fan brushes do, but it's cooperating pretty well this time. Alright, blow dryer again. Alright, now this time I am just going to start with this area, so that way if it covers everything like previous attempts, I can just cover it up with another tree, because I did plan on putting another tree roughly in that spot anyway. So I have this very, very watered down white paint with a touch of watered down orange and white paint added. And I'm going to dip my paper towel ever so carefully. And I'm just gonna carefully. I think this time I may have watered it down too much. Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna accept it. It'll work. If nothing else, I can do 2 layers of this. Maybe I'll do it with this sponge instead, because the paper towel being that wet is kind of an issue. There we go. Now you can see the color a little bit more, but it doesn't quite cover everything, which is exactly what I've been wanting from the beginning. But hey, third tries the charm, right? Let me just get this sponge a little more wet, because it's not reacting very well being completely dry. Perfect. Alright, and while that dries out, I'm going to go change my paint water yet again. Look at that. That's just awful. I have a much bigger pail that I usually use. I got a sand pail from a thrift store for 80 cents, and it disappeared on me. So for now, I'm using this tiny little pail that we got from Applebee's for their Halloween drinks. Why are you so crooked? There we go. So. Okay. Some of those brushes we won't be seeing anymore tonight because they're getting pretty waterlogged. But I am fairly close to done now. It's gonna be like 2 or 3 more trees. Alright. I just knocked back the last of my energy drink. Hopefully I can still sleep tonight. Alright, let's see. How do I want to do this first? Still kind of wet. Okay, I am going to use Where'd that size 6 brush go? Here it is, it fell on the floor. Going to take this size 6 brush again. See if I can revive this gray going on. Don't have a tree here yet. That's pretty watery. If I wanted this color. Too orange. Okay, I'm going to have to mix a new gray, so I am just going to do that in a jar real quick. Let me go get the 1/8 teaspoon out of the sink. Obligatory Kyra cam hasn't happened yet tonight. Kyra! Hold on, where are you? Why aren't you in? I can't, hold on. Let me just unclip this. Haha. Kyra! Hello, Kyra. Okay. Whoop, what did I hit? Okay, we're still live. God, this thing is pretty hard to turn. Well, to tilt, actually. Okay, what was I gonna do? Oh yeah, gray. Alright, so I am going to go with 1/4 of a teaspoon of white, 1/8 of a teaspoon of black. That's separated a little bit. The black does look very nice once you get it mixed. It's just very thin and it always wants to separate. I want to make sure I don't accidentally get any white in there because that's just going to make my problem worse. Alright. Alright, and a quarter teaspoon of white. Oh, oh boy. That's quite a bit bigger than the jar opening. I gotta be careful here. Good thing the white is so thick. Okay, so I guess when I am mixing directly in the jars, I should ideally just do 1/8 of a teaspoon at a time and add more eighths if I need it. And that is why I opted for a very tiny silicone spatula for my mixing tool with these guys. So that way I could do my best to get up on the walls of the jar. It's a very nice gray, but it's also a very light gray. So I think I'm going to do another that is half and half. lastly, a 1/4 of a teaspoon doesn't take up a lot of space in this jar, so I think I'm gonna go full 1/4 teaspoon of both black and white, but using the eighths, so it'll be 2/8 of each. The white is very, very thick and paste-like. And I might still add more later, and this one's a 1-to-1 ratio, so it'll be fairly easier to remember. But I don't want to spend too much time on just this tonight. Alright, so there's all my white. You know, instead of writing the exact number of teaspoons of each color on the labels, I could write the ratio too, because like if I'm getting low on this gray, for example, and I want to add more before I get too low, I know that this one is a 2-to-1 white to black ratio, so I can just add an extra 2/8, well, an extra 1/4 of white and an 1/8 of black. Or like if I mix green and blue and white, like I did earlier today, and I've got a 1/4 of a teaspoon worth of green in there, and 1/8 of white and 1/8 of blue, then I can just write 2-to-1-to-1 green, white, blue. Whoops. Alright, mix and mix. That is a little bit darker than the other one. Whoa. Okay, don't leave the spatula in there. That should have been common sense on my part. It's still not quite as dark as I'm looking for, so I'm gonna add another 1/8 of a teaspoon of black. You know what? I'm kind of struggling there, and the black is so thin. I'm just gonna eyeball it and pour it, and hope for the best. We'll call that an extra 1/8 of a teaspoon. Wow, that is still super white. I was like really underestimating the white and overestimating the black here. Whoops. Wow, that filled it right up. I think how thin the black is probably a good part of the problem. Oh boy. It's too full. I can't even dip the whole spatula, so I'm just gonna dab some out to paint with. There, that works. Alright, that works fine. And then I'm going to take this number 6 brush again. I'm going to finish mixing what got poured out here because it's just kind of swirled. It's a little darker than I wanted, but I can add more depth with this, so I'm actually going to switch to this flat brush briefly here, so that way it's easier for me to cover this surface area that I'm going for. Oh yeah, this is much better. Alright, this tree is very dark and imposing, which is not quite the plan. Well, it is supposed to be a little imposing, but not quite this imposing. But that's okay because I'm going to add some lighter grays over the top. I will just dip a little bit more of the white into this mixture that I have going on in my palette here. Because this is too much of this dark gray to just let dry up and go to waste. And I have once again overestimated the white, but that's okay because I plan to do this right now before this one fully dries, so that way they kind of blend together. See how nice, how much nicer that's looking already? Alright, now I'm going to let it dry. Or rather, I'm going to force it to dry. Alright, and now I'm going to come in here with this gray again, this time with the brush wet, and hopefully it'll appear a little lighter, because it is still lighter than how it looks here. So hopefully between it actually being lighter and the wet brush, yes, okay, perfect. Just trying to get a bit of a bark texture here, since this tree is so much closer. I actually probably could be doing this part with a finer detailed brush, but oh well. I'm going to force it to dry again. Perfect. And this time, excuse me, I'm going to take this really light gray that I made earlier. Okay. And I'm going to take this cool little detailed brush that's meant for nail painting. Just gonna dip it right in there. And just in case any of you are wondering, no, I don't have any idea how to use this brush. But it seems to be working out okay. We'll go with that. to take this dry brush and dip it directly into the orange, if I can find it. What the fuck? Oh, there it is. The scraper from the measuring spoon set was covering it. This is the brush I'm using. Just gonna dip lightly, scrape off the excess. Dab. Going to put the lid on it and then dab at it with the sponge. Ah! Okay. Which still has traces of that white water and orange mixture, which I did not realize. So I'm going to switch to the dry side because part of the point was to uncover the branches a little. That didn't work out so well, so I'm just going to dab it with the dry sponge. And then I'm going to take this flat brush. Oh, you know what? I should probably dry that. And into this gray I go. And I'm going right here. Okay, hold on. you're still a little wet, but oh well. So it turns out that this last gray that I blended in a jar is not completely blended. It's giving interesting. I'm going to pour more orange back out for this because this brush is still pretty wet. can't believe that blue and orange mixture was still wet. I would have used that again a long time ago if I knew. Alright, well, it isn't quite what I was hoping, but I am getting a little tired, and to be honest, tired of this. So I'm gonna call it good for tonight, and maybe maybe finish it up another time. But for now, it was a treat for you, a treat for me, and now it's time for tea.